Hi y'all, welcome to my channel. I'm the Southern Nerdista. Today we're still talking Doctor Who. Rose asked the Doctor to take her to 1987 to the day her father was killed. Recap for those of you just joining us, the Doctor has returned as his ninth regeneration and he's picked up a new companion, Rose Tyler. Together they save the Earth and humanity from the living plastic and nesting consciousness. They then travel to the year 5 billion in the future where we meet the face of Bo and Lady Cassandra who will return. Then to 1869 Wales to hunt zombies with Charles Dickens. Back in the present, an alien spaceship crashes into the Thames River, putting the planet on red alert. The Doctor and Rose, along with her mom Jackie, ex-boyfriend Mickey, and new friend and future Prime Minister Harriet Jones, work together to bring down the Slitheen. A distress signal takes the Doctor and Rose deep below the Utah desert, where they discover the last of the Doctor's mortal enemy, the Dalek, held prisoner in an alien museum, and we pick up a new companion, Adam Mitchell. In the year 200,000, the Doctor, Rose, and Adam stop the mighty Jaggerfest from continuing to enslave humanity and slow its development. But not before Adam tries to mess with time for personal gain. He's the first companion to get permanently banned from the TARDIS. We've had multiple references to Bad Wolf and finally learned about the last great Time War before Rose met the Doctor. It was fought between the Daleks and Time Lords, and the Doctor was the one who ended the war when he killed everyone to save the universe. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone, including his entire race. Background: this is Billie Piper, who plays Rose, favorite episode. Not only does this episode introduce Pete Tyler, Rose's dad, but it establishes the Tyler backstory that will continue in future episodes. Simon Pegg was originally cast as Pete Tyler, but because of scheduling conflicts, he chose the role of the editor in the last episode. It also shows the impact of what happens when people mess with time and why the Doctor doesn't go back before the war and save the other Time Lords. The consequences of breaking the laws of time will be explored throughout the modern series. Spoiler warning, guys, the Southern Nerdista does give spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers, pause this video, go watch the episode, then come back. If you don't care about spoilers, then just carry on, my wayward companions. Alright, so growing up, Jackie told Rose the story of how her dad, Pete Tyler, died when she was a baby. Hit and run driver who was never found. Her dad dies alone before the ambulance can get there. And Rose tells the Doctor this story, and then she asks him if he'll take her to 1987 so she can see her dad. He agrees, but warns her to be careful what she wishes for. After the opening title sequence, we see the Doctor and Rose at Pete and Jackie's wedding, just in time to hear Pete get Jackie's middle names wrong, much to Jackie's irritation. Rose then asks to go to the day her dad died so she can be with him and he won't die alone. As the Doctor and Rose walk to the street where her dad will end up being killed, Bad Wolf is seen written over a poster. As she waits for the moment the driver hits her dad, the Doctor reaches for her hand. Pete steps out of his car to cross the road right as an oncoming car runs into him, killing him instantly. The Doctor tells her to go to her dad, but Rose is frozen. By the time she recovers, her dad is dead. She asks the Doctor if she can try again, and he reluctantly agrees. Now there are two Doctors and two Roses in the same time and place, making this a moment that is very vulnerable. Even though the Doctor has met his different regenerations many times, this is only the second time that the Doctor has met a second version of his current regeneration, but it won't be the last. This previously happened with the third Doctor. Instead of just being with her dad as he dies, Rose saves him, effectively changing the past. The Doctor looks on in anger. This is the first time that Rose has made such a glaring, unforgivable mistake. Did she not just see what happened to Adam for trying to mess with time? Pete invites Rose and the Doctor back to his apartment with Jackie. Left alone in the living room, Rose noses around all the bits and pieces of his get-rich-quick schemes, like health drinks and solar panels. The Doctor continues to glare, and he finally tells her she used him from the start once she learned that the TARDIS could not only travel through space, but also time. Russell T. Davies and Paul Cornell, the writer of this episode, debated whether it should have been Rose's plan all along to save her father. This is left unclear in the episode, but Billie Piper felt that it did not occur to Rose until after she began traveling. I think it didn't occur to her until Adam tried changing his present. The Doctor and Rose get into a huge fight. She doesn't understand why it matters that one ordinary person is alive. Not like his existence is going to change human history. He's a nobody. But the Doctor saves people all the time. The Doctor replies that he knows what he's doing. Don't you think if he could, he would go back and save the Time Lords? His entire race is gone, not just one person. Things get more fiery between them, and the Doctor asks for the TARDIS key back. Rose hands it over but says he'll be back. As he walks to the TARDIS, something alien watches from above, and then it starts taking people who are outside. Rose and Pete leave for a wedding, and at the TARDIS, the Doctor opens the doors, but inside, it's just an ordinary phone box again. On the car radio, Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up plays. Rick rolled before Rick rolling was even a thing. The song changes to something that isn't out in 1987. Rose checks her voicemail on her phone and hears, "Watson, come here, I need you." Alexander Graham Bell's first phone call will be heard throughout the episode on various devices. The bride arrives with Jackie and a baby Rose. They're told to drive around the block because several people are missing from the wedding. Almost to the church, Rose and Pete are nearly hit head-on by the same car that originally kills Pete. Jackie and Pete immediately start fighting on the street about adult Rose. This is not the picturesque family Jackie described to Rose as she was growing up. All the children in a local park go missing except one, a 7-year-old Mickey, who runs to the church screaming about monsters. The Doctor sprints from the opposite direction, yelling to get in the church right as a creature materializes in the air. It swoops down at Rose, who shrieks, but the Doctor tackles her and the creature misses. But more materialize and attack the wedding party. Inside the church, the Doctor takes charge, gleefully ordering Jackie around. Rose asks if the creatures are here because of her. The Doctor doesn't answer, but his face says it all. Pete puts together who Rose is, and they have an emotional moment. In the sanctuary, Rose finds the Doctor watching over baby Rose, and he won't let adult Rose touch baby Rose, explaining they are the same person, and the paradox might let the creatures into the church. This is consistent with the Blinovitch limitation effect. The 1977 and 1983 versions of Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart did just that, resulting in a cataclysmic release of energy. So no touching the baby, which is just fine with Billy Piper, who was scared of holding the baby anyway. The Doctor admits he doesn't know what to do. Before, the Time Lords knew how to fix paradoxes, but they aren't around anymore. And a tearful Rose says she didn't mean to cause any trouble. The Doctor asks for an apology and hugs her when he sees that she's genuinely sorry, forgiving her completely. The TARDIS key heats up in the Doctor's jacket, and he realizes he can summon the TARDIS back, which gives him hope. The outline of the TARDIS slowly rematerializes. Pete and Rose talk some more. He asks her about the future and his role in it, and Rose lies to him, saying that he's been in her life the whole time, and he knows that she's lying because he knows that he wouldn't do those things that she said. The car that killed Pete continues to appear around the corner and then disappear again. Pete sees this and he understands he's supposed to be dead, and him being alive is why the creatures are here. The Doctor tells Rose that when this is all said and done, nobody will remember the specific events of the day, but the things that have changed will stay changed, including her dad being alive. Jackie and Pete fight again. Pete tries to convince her that the Rose in front of them is their baby all grown up and from the future. He takes baby Rose and shoves her into adult Rose's arms, and the paradox does indeed allow one of the creatures inside the church. The Doctor puts himself between the creatures and humans, and the creature eats him. It then flies around the sanctuary before colliding with a still materializing TARDIS, causing both to disappear forever. No Doctor and no TARDIS. The humans are on their own. Pete sees the car again and knows what he has to do. There are no other options to stop the creatures. We have an emotional moment between Pete, Rose, and Jackie, who finally listens to Pete about who Rose is before he walks outside. And I'll admit, even I got a little teary-eyed watching it, knowing full well what was going to happen when the episode started. When the car hits him, the creatures disappear, and everyone the creatures devoured, including the Doctor, reappears. He tells Rose to go to her dad so he's not alone when he dies this time. And in the end, Rose does change time a little. Jackie tells a young Rose that the driver sticks around after the accident instead of disappearing, and her dad doesn't die alone. But nobody knows who the girl was who stayed with Pete. The Doctor and Rose walk hand in hand back to the TARDIS. Review. This episode is a hit. Not only do we get major emotional moments between Rose and her dad, but we also get to see her make a huge mistake that she's not done so far, and that could have had catastrophic consequences. And instead of holding on to his anger like he has been, the Doctor shows growth when he forgives Rose. All in all, great character development and much needed after the disastrous last episode that we had. Next time on Doctor Who, Rose and the Doctor travel to 1941 London in the middle of the Blitz, where we meet the dazzling Captain Jack Harkness, who is one of my most favorite recurring characters ever, played by the incredible John Barrowman. They investigate a plague of weird injuries and pursue a ghostly child in a gas mask. Thanks for watching my video. If you like what you saw, hit that subscribe button below, and remember, you don't have to be an expert to be a fan. See you guys next time.